Okay. Thank you for joining the Down Under Hangout. I can totally speak tonight. Tonight we are doing a mini read discussion of The Cat Proposed by, I don't know the name. Sorry, does anyone have it?
Give me a tick.
I was just going to look it up, but I've lost it.
Dento Hayane.
Yeah, Dento Hayane. There we go. Okay. Yep. So that's our discussion. This was one of the mini reads. So that means that we put a whole bunch of suggestions and then we took a poll. This was not suggested by any one person. This was an agreement from book club. So, all right. Like I said, I didn't read it because I wasn't planning on. I'm just standing in for someone else. So you guys kick it off. Elizabeth, you can go first. You're at the top of my screen.
Sure. It was a fine enough read, but it didn't really engage me a whole lot. It was a quick, sweet way to pass the time. But yeah, I didn't find it especially deep or anything like that.
Matt.
So I made it through the first 3. I think there was 7 stories in volume 1. So I made it through the first 3. Not really because of time, but just because of lack of interest. Again, yeah, I didn't find it particularly engaging. Characters were nice enough, and it was nice, you know. but maybe it might have gotten a little bit more interesting later on. I just got to the point where the Ryokan cat turned up, and I'm like, oh, okay, there's starting a little bit of extra depth to this world. But yeah, I don't know. I'm probably not the right audience. It was fine, but I am probably not going to finish
it. Kim.
It was nice. It was cute. Very tropey. It's a very common trope. The whole, well, we'll get into it, you know, the whole I have to marry you and then we fall in love trope. So it was nice to read. I just sat down and read the whole thing. It wasn't very, you know, serious or deep or anything like that, but it was just a cute little fun read.
And Lisa.
I think I must be, 3 of these things belong together and I'm the other one because I've never read, I'm not very well read in manga. So, and I've certainly never read a manga like this before, but I was quite moved actually. But I think it's because I could see so many parallels between the main character and me. So it actually sort of touched me. It was sweet. I agree. It was a very sweet story, but there was definitely some moments that were like, oh, that's ringing a chord. So I did rather enjoy it, but it was like, oh, there's a lot to process here for me. Yeah.
I think that's actually one of the things that we love about book club is sometimes we come to these discussions and there's 1 or 2 people who have a vastly different experience with the book, and it's really great to find out how it was and listen to them. And safe space anyway. Okay, so does anyone have anything they want to talk about? I mean, I got as far, I think I got up to book 2 and I just knew I wasn't going to finish it anyhow. So and that was earlier on in the week. So I have very little of an idea of what happened. There was a bit in there that kind of grossed me out. There was a little like the kiss where he's revitalizing. It was the imagery. I didn't have a problem with the kiss being a revitalizing thing. It was the imagery of the liquid falling out of his mouth. No, I had an experience at one point when I was at uni. That was disgusting. And anytime I said I can't do it, so that didn't help at all. But yeah. So yeah, does anyone have anything they want to talk about it? Or we can feel like if Lisa's willing to be in the spotlight, you can share a bit more about your experience with the book since it was so different.
Well, actually, I don't know if any of you read it, but the spoilers, okay, spoilers.
Go for it.
The 4th story, some of the sequences in the 4th story had me laughing out loud so loudly I was waking my poor partner asleep in the bed beside me because I was reading it quite late at night. And I mean, it wasn't subtle humor. It was cat humor. It was here's the spoiler. The main character begins to slightly turn into a cat, but he's an incredibly he does a couple of incredibly cat-like things in a very clumsy way. And it was like that really did have me laughing out loud. So there was, I don't know if it was meant to be humorous, but it certainly was. Yeah. There's a bit where he accidentally chases his tail and then falls over, for example. Yeah, that was very cute. I guess maybe because I'm not so used to reading it, you might say that's a very common trope, but I've not read that before. So I was like, that was funny.
I think that that was one of my favorite bits too, like when he turns into a bit of a cat sota, gets to experience a bit of the Bake Neko form, which was nice.
Yeah.
I found the Bake Neko world a bit underdeveloped, I guess. Like there wasn't much to it, but it is only a 1-volume manga, which like I practically never heard of. Usually there are multiple volumes, so that was quite surprising.
There wasn't much space to develop.
Yeah, and I think that was probably one of my key criticisms of the book, is that it needed a bit more space to develop things, particularly for me in terms of the relationship, because that did feel a little underbaked in places.
I'd be interested to know if this was given its short, like, reading time, I guess, whether it was an original published as like a volume, or if it was serialized like a lot of manga, and you expect those to like run for ages. This one obviously doesn't. So I'm like, I wonder if it appeared in like a serialized form, or whether it was just a straight up.
Chances are good that it was, I think. That is the usual path for these sorts of things. But I don't know the field well enough in that area to say for sure.
Yeah.
It did feel like it, because it's a series of quite short stories. And there was a little discontinuity, like there was, they did feel like there were obviously elements that were running through them that were the same, but there was a bit of discontinuity between them, enough that it felt like maybe they had come out, I don't know, a week or a month apart or something. Yeah. Did anyone else feel that there was just a slight sort of disjointedness between the stories?
I did, at least between book 1 and 2, because like I didn't get to book 3, so
it did seem a little like it did.
Yeah. But I do wonder whether the author was trying it and then to see if they could develop it further, because there was quite a few characters that I agree with you, Liz. There was sort of there wasn't much development, but there was room or scope potentially for future development. Like the granny character, and that I forget what the name of the.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of room for development there, and then the annoying other fellow that showed up, I've forgotten his name. Felt like he was deliberately annoying so that he could then be developed into a more three-dimensional character at some point. But then it suddenly rushed to an end, like maybe the author had changed their mind and gone, no, I'll just finish it up here. Yeah.
Told they were getting cancelled.
Yeah. Oh well, I'll quickly finish it.
So was there was a conclusion then to the story? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And then there was sort of a slight after conclusion that was very boy love.
Yeah. And the fan service part.
A very fan service part.
Yeah.
Right. The author made the comment, and that makes me think that maybe it was like the author wanted to take it further and then was told, no, it's cancelled, because there was a comment there about, I want them to be happy forever after. So that's why I've written this last bit.
So before that last bit, the only real thing was it did make me laugh, where I can't remember the exact words, but it was like he's carrying him somewhere and he goes, oh, you can stand up now, and he something like, you can stand up now, and he goes, you're not talking about my legs, are you? Like, oh and that's, in the whole thing, that's about as sexy as it got until the after bit.
Yeah.
So it's very PG to that point.
Yes.
I also wasn't sure what the kind of like intended target demographic was in terms of age as well, whether this was like early teens, mid-teens.
I was just looking up, see if I could find any information. It has been serialized in Canada. I don't know if that means it was originally serialized and then made into a book, or book and then serialized. I'm not sure. But
think
yeah, I guess it
serialized
depends whatever
first and
Canada
then
is.
book. I did like, speaking of the author just wanting the happily ever after for them, I did quite like the ending where they had the parade of spirits.
That was cute.
That
I
was
love
lovely.
that. Yeah.
And Soto kind of seeing their cat spirits in the darkness happy together. That was nice, even though like their lifespans are quite different. It was nice to have the implication that, you know, maybe things work out for them after all.
Yeah.
Because we all need happy endings, especially in these day and age.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Elizabeth, when Matt was talking about like the target audience, I think I saw you shaking your head. Do you know who the target audience?
Oh no, I don't. But like the manga industry, like definitely have a niche for like young women, like not teenagers, but like a bit older than that, so about the 20s and stuff. And I would say that this might be that.
This is slightly in a different language. I was just looking up Kana, which is what it was serialized in, and it's a boys' love magazine, and it's aimed at 16 plus.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's good to know.
Thanks, Kim.
That's all right. I was curious.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even known where to start. I have very, very little experience with manga at all. I find I really enjoy, when I find stuff I enjoy, I really enjoy mangas and anime, but I also can find them quite overwhelming with how busy they are and how bam, bam, bam they can be. I have that trouble with English graphic novels and stuff as well. So
I did have trouble figuring out when Sota was, and also I'm sorry, I'm not great with the names. What was the other?
Kihachi.
Kihachi, that's right. I was having trouble figuring out when Sota and Kihachi were saying things out loud and when they were thinking things, and when they were when Sota especially was narrating. So I did have a little bit of trouble picking that up, and that led to some confusion in me. But I sort of, for me, for the story, because Sota is conveying at times some slightly complex emotion, like a complex emotional sequence. And it's like, wait, are you saying that out loud? Or are you thinking it? It was, I actually wouldn't mind rereading some of those bits again to try to nut it out for myself. Like, I
had exactly the same experience on a couple of ones. I'm like, the particular bubble that they've used for like one person's thought and the other person's speech were virtually identical, and the way they were placed made it quite difficult to sort of like, I had to, exactly. It was just, not all the time, but just every now and then.
Did anyone read it in physical format? Because I know we were okay.
No, but
Couldn't get it.
so I was reading it on the Kobo app, and that's swiped right to left and read right to left as well. So
I think Mel had it open, and that annoyed her as well, and that's how it came out on my copy as well.
She said for her,
the book was backward. The page turning was backwards.
No, she swiped right to left, which is like opposite to Western world. Which is what you would expect from a manga. But she said that it read left to right, which is not the way it should be.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Oh, I remember her saying that, and I'm glad that mine did actually swipe and read the way that a manga, you would expect a manga to read.
I had the Kobo one, and mine went left, like I swiped left to right. With mine, I had to tap on the left to get the pages to move. And I started to read right to left, which threw me off a little bit because I knew Mel had that problem she had mentioned before that hers was wrong. And so I was having trouble. I was trying, like the first few pages, I was trying to sync up which direction it was meant to be going because I knew somebody was having a problem.
Mhm.
So yeah, but I had to tap on the left side to get the pages to move. And
Oh,
then,
that's weird.
yeah, and
Oh.
with Kobo, with the
Oh,
Kobo app.
Sorry,
Yeah, I have to
I'm
tap
getting
on the
that
right.
backwards.
Yeah.
I was going left to right. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
like the way
Yeah.
the book should, right? Because you should be
Yeah.
turning left to right,
Yeah.
but reading right,
Right to left.
left.
Yeah.
I was reading the
Mm.
correct way for a manga, but I was flipping the pages the wrong way for a manga.
right.
Okay.
Like you were flipping them like a Western book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had
Whereas-
both the right. So like I'm swiping left to right,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but it actually does read. There's a good example here where it is going
Yeah.
right to left.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right to
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's the way it should
yeah,
read.
exactly.
Yeah. So who actually finished reading it?
I did.
Yeah. So can I ask what did you think about in book 5? There's a
Uh-oh.
scene where Sota, I think it starts with him in the bath, and then he just has like a sort of a bit of a crisis, and he walks out, and then Kahachi has, it's a sort of, I felt like it's the first time you actually see any depth. It's not great depth, but some depth to Kahachi, where he has to kind of question what he's really feeling and the way he's really been feeling towards Sota. And I think there's a whole sequence where he's imagining how he's feeling, and then he's getting like images of Sota as if Sota were there. What did you think about that bit? I've not read anything like that before. Like, so I was, it took me actually a little while to figure out, oh no, that's he's imagining that Sota's there.
I don't think he's imagining Sota.
No, I
is
think
there?
he's remembering Sota was there.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
So
he's
it's-
either remembering something that happened like a day earlier or just
Mm.
earlier.
So he's jumping
day earlier.
between the
Yep.
present where he's trying to process what's going on.
Yep.
And the memories that are, I get it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of a diva moment from Sota.
Yes.
bit more on the angsty side, but like on one hand, like I can definitely understand where he's coming from. But on the other hand, as he said, it is a bit just like running away from home.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is there any explanation given to why a mate is picked? Like, it just kind of happens at the start, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
There is some, I think, in there's a little bit in book 3, and then it's explained a bit more in book 4, I think story 4,
Mm.
which is, get me if I'm wrong, stop me if I'm wrong, but it's along the lines of Sota shouldn't have seen Kihachi, spoiler, shouldn't have seen Kihachi transform, like shouldn't have been able to see it or perceive it.
right,
And revealing a Bakaneko, if a Bakaneko is revealed in a human, the words used are, there is punishment. And it's then made later clear just how severe that punishment is, possibly for both of them.
okay,
And the out is to form mates.
right,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. Have I got that? I think I got that right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true for their situation, but I'm not sure that like the concept of a Bakaneko taking a mate is really addressed, like whether that's always the way it happens, or whether
I think this was like supposed to be like not normal. If I can remember, like
Mhm.
if I get my feeling from the manga was that usually they can reveal themselves, and usually they don't just see someone unless they've purposely revealed themselves. And they both take humans or their own kind as mates as well. But yeah, I think he was surprised that he got seen, and because of that he wanted to protect him because he wasn't supposed to see him and he didn't mean to show himself.
Right.
Like he just Sota just saw it when he wasn't necessarily supposed to.
Gotcha.
So it was sort of something like they might be destined, sort of like a destiny sort of thing. Like he saw something he wasn't supposed to, so maybe they're meant to be together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, without oversharing, one of the bits that was sort of created some quite deep emotions in me is the fact that, and it's not 100% clear whether it's simply because Buck and Neko are cat-like, or whether it's because they live so much longer than humans in this book, but that Kihachi, he calls Sota Little Sparrow. And there's definitely sequences where it's almost as if he's almost a plaything. And certainly when he meets the family seem to treat him like a plaything rather than one, like giving them the sort of respect of being one of them, for example.
I did wonder if that nickname was going to come up later, about like, because I was like, why are you a cat calling you a bird? I'd be concerned.
Yeah. So that certainly, there was a lot of emotions in me about that, about when if you one is forming the fact that Soda's forming this relationship with someone who, and that was the bit that I was interested to see what would happen there with Kihachi's development as well. Like, are you just going to continue to see him as a little plaything or pet, or that didn't sit well with me. Yeah,
especially too because he's in quite a vulnerable position. And he doesn't have anyone to advocate for him. He's on his own, kind of thing, especially if Kihachi's not going to step up for him, which doesn't seem to be the case.
Do they end up on a more equal footing? Because I mean, I even felt like there was such a power imbalance at the very beginning when Soto he was clearly unwell, and like, okay, fine, the Bakaneko tried to like helped him enough to get him well enough to get to the hospital, basically, but then Soto is clearly feeling very much in debt, and I was just like, and you're supposed to be living together forever, and there's this. So I was wondering if that ever kind of got evened out.
I don't know, really. Like, Soto gets sick of being treated like a kid, basically, and leaves. But he actually kind of realizes his feelings and goes and chases after him, and they live happily ever after. But
Kihachi actually chases after him.
Yeah.
But the equality finds him.
The inequality of their relationship is not really addressed.
Okay.
I think, I would say that the power kind of swings a little the other way, but I'm not sure it really completely goes. It never goes. I don't think it ever goes equal. I mean, I think Soda is quite vulnerable and does actually open himself and his vulnerability to Kihachi an awful lot. But I think Kihachi only really goes as far as saying, I fell in love with you. And that's about as far as he goes with his opening himself up. And then even the very last fan servicey sequence, there's definitely not, I don't believe there's an equality there. So yeah.
Although you do get the story of Hitachi's how he becomes a Bakaneko, which I kind of liked.
I really like the story.
And it certainly gives you an idea about what he would see in Sota as well, a little bit, but it's not really.
Does he actually share that with Sota? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
He shares it with the story.
Okay, so the reader knows, but
the reader knows, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not born; they're made. Is that right?
Yeah,
they previously humans.
Right.
Oh no! In Hitachi's case,
oh no, previously cats.
Cat.
Right.
Sorry.
Oh yes, that's right.
Previously cats.
Yes.
Is that true in every case, or can it be?
Doesn't elaborate.
Right.
Oh, did it? I thought it did say that they could be made from humans or cats at one point, or am I remembering?
Oh, maybe I don't know. Maybe
I've actually found it now. I think it's story 6. Yeah. It does certainly give insight into just how long they live, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is very true. Because Kihachi, sorry.
Kihachi. Yeah, sorry.
Kihachi's transformation into the Bakeneko is grounded in a really specific time period. So
Mm.
I think he actually says 400 at one point.
He does say, yeah.
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 That's quite a lot.
I don't know if we were trying not to say it. Yeah.
No, spoilers.
couldn't remember.
Go for it.
Had enough spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Well, that's
actually says
fine.
it happened in the Edo period. So
Mm.
yeah.
Okay, so so if you're looking at myths and folklore, and I don't have a citation for where they got this information, but they're saying that Bakanekos are cats that managed to live just like they lived naturally long, and therefore were able to become yokai. I don't know if that's there is no citation as to where that's come from, but yeah.
What do people think of the art style? Did anyone give that much thought?
I felt it was kind of pretty middle ground for manga, really. There was nothing. The character designs didn't particularly stand out, nor were they particularly bad. I think there tends to be a reasonably common style, particularly for this genre, and I think this kind of falls into there. So it was fine, you know.
Yeah, nothing stood out different from other that I've read.
Again, though, if it's your first introduction to manga and that style of drawing, it might be quite different to stuff that you've seen before. But for manga, it's not particularly out there.
I can only compare it in my mind to animes that I've seen adapted from manga. And yeah, I guess it seemed well drawn, but there wasn't any amazing, outstanding, feature that was like, oh, that's different. Yeah.
Oh, if you've seen a bunch of anime, then you know.
Yeah. I did like the and I kind of want to go back and almost look at about the way that Kihachi uses the fan. I was kind of amused by that. There's this, there's a bit, he covers himself at times and he flaps it on, he punctuates the story he tells with the fan. I'm like, I want to look into that again.
That was apparently meant to be from like a style of storytelling, which I didn't know I'd never heard that before like that, but he explained it. Yeah.
Does he call it Kodan? I think
Kodan or something, but yeah. So I remember thinking, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool that there's like this different way of telling stories.
But are you looking it up now? I'm looking.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. But yeah, something to have to do with like they use the fan and the fan plays quite an important role in.
I remember seeing a video of one like years ago and not knowing what it was, and just like the fans getting smashed on this table like really loudly, and I'm like, what is going on here? Before I had any real wider understanding of anything Japanese culture wise.
Where did you experience that?
Oh, it was like on TV. Like I was probably like a early teenager, roughly. That's about how long ago it was. But it's one of those things that sticks in my mind. Whatever show it was on TV at the time, it was so different from anything else that I'd seen. And I think it was subtitled again, which, at the time was quite unusual. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is, I've never seen anything like this before. And it just stuck in my head as something that was very different.
You were obviously on ABC or SBS.
It was probably at the time. It was it could have been either. Like I can't quite place when we got SBS.
Yeah, SBS was always whether you got it or not.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was in its heyday during the Edo period, from Edo to Meiji period. Anyway,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine it's like it probably looks as a bit strange to us as someone who walked by like a Punch and Judy puppet show. Like,
What is going on
yeah,
there?
why? I don't understand, but it makes sense to someone who's maybe grown up a little bit with it to get like at least it wouldn't seem so confronting. But yeah,
The Punch and Judy's weird to me.
I can at least kind of I can follow along with what's happening at least. Whereas if I had no clue and just saw it, I'd be like, what is this? And wouldn't want to.
I imagined it like almost like a more refined version of slam poetry with props.
Well, it says, what was it? He was talking about the story, but I was just like looking at the Google general thing from Wikipedia. A form evolved out of lectures of historical or literary topics given to high-ranking nobles of the Heian period. So very sort of noble, theatrical.
And I mean, the first story that he tells is about Musashi, so that's really, in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a bit where he says that that they're always historical stories based on real stories or real characters. That's right. Yeah.
However,
who is Musashi? Just the vampire cat?
No, Musashi is different from the vampire cat.
I was going to say
a famous warrior, basically.
Thank you. I got that. I actually kind of want to go and read that story now.
Hold up. I'm pretty sure I have the book. I'll be right back.
I wonder if it's a copy that I remember.
They make
super well, like, known story in Japan, but it's kind of got like that. The story's not like Robin Hood, but it's got that sense of like, unlike Robin Hood, who I don't think was based on a real person. The story of Musashi is, but it's like that thing where like over time the story and their exploits and everything grow and grow and grow into something that's like well beyond the original.
Like maybe like some of the like perhaps Ned Kelly or Jesse James or
the legend grows.
The legend grows. Yeah.
So, but about Robin Hood, so National Geographic says that the story is not based on any one person, but on a spirit of the time. It was basically being whispered around as like they were hearing about people in different communities that were doing that were behaving as Robin Hood.
Right.
Because of the oppression at the time. So.
Sort of the same thing. It's just the legend legend based on reality that grows through Chinese whispers.
So I didn't find the exact book that I was looking for, but I did find something better, which is A Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi.
Ooh.
By Musashi.
Yep. Sorry. It'd be like Sun Tzu, basically. It's a book on strategy.
Interesting.
Is the version you're looking for, Elizabeth, is it quite thick and like got the line drawing kind of cover?
Might do, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a copy like that at some point, Matt?
No, but I sold a lot of copies of it back in the day. It was quite a popular book.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were a bookseller. That's interesting too. I'm gonna have to ask about that later.
Yeah.
After this chat, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there you go. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia article, which is actually does specify that the article needs additional citations, but it mentions lived from 1584 to 1645, and was a Japanese swordsman, philosopher, strategist, writer, and ronin. And mentions the Book of Five Rings.
Okay,
Yeah.
that load. I was gonna say, is it this one? Oh God, it's gonna look terrible because I had to blow it up 10 million times. That one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
Oh, I've seen that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that looks familiar. I'm sure I've seen it somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably find it around in a secondhand bookstore if the number of copies Matt sold is anything to go by?
Yeah, it's been in print.
What was the
quite
like?
a
I just
while.
typed in Musashi, and it's the first result is the
Yeah.
book.
Good for you. I typed in Musashi, and I don't know why this is the first result for me was performance and nutrition protein powder. I don't know
Oh
why.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
was
right.
coming up as I was
Yes.
typing in the Google search bar. Is
Right.
like Musashi protein, and I'm like, oh, is that what that's named
That,
after?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think now I'm like, okay, well, at least now I
That's
understand
good to
that.
know. Why is it called Musashi? Oh, now I know. It's a bit like
Yeah.
why is Milo called Milo? So
Yeah. This
yeah.
this supplement will turn you into a Ronin.
Let's hope not.
Milo will make you an ancient Greek strongman who's a little bit foolish around trees.
Hilarious. Anyway, is there anything further we want to discuss about the book, or shall we call it a night?
Yeah, how are we going? So they don't have anything else they want to talk about.
I think we've covered it.
I guess my summary would be did enjoy it. Wouldn't mind reading it again, especially since it is a rather short read, just to give myself a little bit of time about a couple of those scenes. But yeah.
And apparently the Kobo version is the one you should consider getting if you want the one that gives you the most realistic experience. I don't know.
If you don't want to be flipping the pages backwards.
Yeah, if you don't want to flip the pages backwards and you want to be able to read it the correct direction for a manga, there you go.
I mean, if they've turned it like around in the direction, that would have taken so much work. They definitely were aiming at Western audiences, whatever that copy was.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not even sure where she got it from. I don't know. So we'll have to ask her later. Anyway, so thank you everyone for joining us. So hold on, I had it here. 1 second, let me pull it up. So our next book is Seance Tea Party, and that is in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks time. So that is also a graphic novel. Very different, but it is also a graphic novel. So we'll see
Hey.
everyone in 2 weeks, hopefully. Bye.
Bye.